Hi Anthropology 2300, this is Kirsten with your video for week 9 of the course. This week's topic is religion. There are a few things I'd like to go over with you in this video. First of all, just an introduction to the information that is in Blackboard. Second, while I'm not going to be covering the items that are in the Ember and Ember text chapter 15, please make sure that you do read that so that you have a better background understanding of the material. Then I'll go over the discussion prompts this week for Kozak Del Guerico. And then lastly, we will have some housekeeping items. And of course, there is our Anthropology cartoon for the week in the lower right-hand side of the screen. Okay, first of all, with religion this week, there are several different objectives that you should keep in mind as you're reading the material. The first is, what is religion and what are its various forms, social correlates, and functions? Second, what is ritual and what are its various forms and expressions? And then third, what role does religion play in maintaining and changing societies? Now, one thing you might be wondering is, why in the world is there a picture of a Neanderthal burial on the lower right-hand side of the screen? Well, the reason for that is because many anthropologists believe that Neanderthals are one of the earliest human ancestors that had religious ceremonies, and we could tell this by the items that were included in the burials. Then on the other side of the screen, I have some of the images from Haiti, which you will be reading about this week. Okay, next, for Blackboard, you're going to read that the definition for religion is not very cut and dry. There are very different interpretations depending on which culture you are talking about in terms of what religion means to them. So one of the things to keep in mind this week as you're reading the material is the idea of cultural relativism and trying to not place judgment of your own experiences on the cultures that you're going to be studying about. So keep in mind 3 questions in terms of cultural relativism. First, what roles does religion perform in this culture? Second, what is the content of religion in this culture? And then third, what do religious doctrines, acts, events, settings, practitioners, and organizations mean to the people of this culture? And the images that you see on the bottom of the screen, one is a traditional healing ceremony among the Ewe in Ghana, which was something that I saw this past summer. The second one is a Dogon ceremony, and then third is another healing ceremony that is actually in Malawi. Okay, one of the things that I thought might help you this week for the Origins of Religion lesson that is in Blackboard is putting the theorists into a table, and this might be something that'll help you study for the exam that's coming up after break as well. First, we have the definition from Wallace of religion being belief in ritual concerned with supernatural beings, powers, and forces. Later on, you're going to learn about Durkheim, that it's the collective emotional intensity generated by worship. And again, that's open to quite a bit of interpretation as to what that means. Then you will learn about Victor Turner and his idea of communitas. And if you take the advanced classes in applied anthropology at the master's level, you will see communitas again. And what is really important, and you can see the root word community in there, is that an intense community spirit that's shared by a group of people, and it brings equality, unity, and togetherness. And then lastly, you're going to read about Tyler, who's oftentimes considered to be the father of the anthropology of religion. And what he saw religion being that there are 2 entities in the body, one that's there during consciousness or awake periods, and then others that's a soul that is there when you're asleep or in a trance state, and that upon your death that the soul leaves the body. He also saw kind of what is seen as an evolution of religious beliefs from the traditional animism and seeing spirits in the world around us, to polytheism, the belief in many gods, to monotheism and the belief in one God. His other interesting idea is that religion is there to explain things that people otherwise can't explain, such as through science. And this is something that if you've taken psychology courses before, you might find this to be familiar, because there are some people in the psychology world who believe that religion fills a gap where otherwise people, when they grow up, they no longer have their parents to explain the world around them, that religion fills that gap for them. Another thing that I wanted to give you a table for that I thought might help you in your studying is a table on the 3 stages for the rites of passage, which are separation, liminality, and incorporation. And separation is the initial stage where you withdraw from the larger group and you start moving to the next stage, and you start the process of getting to where you want to be. Liminality, the easiest way to remember that is limbo. You're not at the beginning stage and you're not quite at the advanced stage, and you're going through the different challenges of what you need to show that you can go to the incorporation stage, which is the third stage. This is where you come back into the society. Boys become men. There's a lot of rites of passage having to do with puberty. In many cultures around the world, a bride might become a wife, or the example that's given in the Blackboard lesson has to do with soldiers, that they leave their family in the separation stage, they go through boot camp. The liminality phase is where they're almost done, and then by the time they're at boot camp and they become full-on soldiers, they have reached the incorporation stage. Okay, next, there is a little bit of information about applied anthropology, religion, and health. And this is something that's very interesting to think about when you look at countries or cultures that have more traditional practices. Oftentimes there's an interesting juxtaposition between having traditional healing beliefs and the idea of Western medicine. And that's something to keep in mind too as you read through some of the examples that will be on the discussion board this week. Okay, next for Kozak Shamanism's Past and Present, there are going to be 4 different discussion prompts. The first one involves watching a short video, African Shaman Witch Doctor. And all the videos for this week, just so that you know, are between 2.5 to 9 minutes long. There aren't any really long videos. So the question for the African Shaman Witch Doctor involves, the first one, describe how Mungoma exorcises the hex from the woman based on what you see in the video. Describe the role of communitas in the exorcism, so we're connecting that back to one of the vocabulary words this week. And then the extension is, would you define what is happening as religion? And try to keep cultural relativism in mind as you answer that question if you choose to do so. The second one is a video about the Catemaco in Mexico. It's about witchcraft. The first question that you would answer if you choose to watch that video is, explain what is meant by the statement that magic is integral to the social fabric of the Catemaco. The second question is, evaluate how magic and contemporary healing practices can work together in Catemaco society. It's kind of interesting when you're pulled between traditional and modern medicine practices and what people may actually choose to end up doing, or a combination of both. Okay, the third prompt is about the Ifa divination system, and this is in Nigeria. And if you choose to watch that video, there are 2 short questions. One is, describe the ritual forms and expressions of the Ifa diviners. 2, analyze the role that the Ifa divination ceremony plays in contemporary Nigerian society. Okay, and then I've also added in a 4th prompt, which is if you would like to discuss anything in the article that's not covered in any of these related discussion prompts. The second article for this week is Del Guerico, The Secret of Haiti's Living Dead. And again, there are 4 discussion prompts. The first one is directly linked to the article as it talks about Haitian voodoo. And you'll watch a short video on Haitian voodoo and answer 3 questions. One is, the narrator states that on the surface, Haiti is a Catholic country, but daily life still moves to the rhythm of spirit religion. How can these 2 seemingly conflicting belief systems coexist in daily life? 2, describe what happens when people resist the spirits, and you'll see an example of that in the video. And 3, how do the powers of the spirit world work for good and evil? Then the second video for The Secrets of Haiti's Living Dead is the Birthplace of Voodoo video, which actually takes place in a different area. And the 2 questions that have to do with this video are, 1, describe the examples of communitas you see in the video. So pay attention to the movements of the people that are participating in the ceremony. 2, in the video, several people experience trance-like states. Based on the readings for this week, what do people involved believe is happening? And again, try to remember cultural relativism. The third video has to do with the San people of Botswana. And if you choose to watch this video, the first question is, explain the societal role that the healing trance dance plays among the San. 2, analyze the healing powers of the trance dance and how they can complement or work together with contemporary medical practices. So you're kind of seeing a theme here of how traditional and modern practices can work together. And then, of course, there's the 4th prompt of any student interest that you may have. Okay, lastly, we have our housekeeping items for this week. Don't forget, you have Quiz 7 coming up, and we have kind of a wide window. It goes over spring break, but just don't forget to take it if you choose to take it over break or right when you get back. Also, quiz 8 is coming up right around the time of break, so make sure that you take that when you come back. It's easy to get into spring break mode, and it might take some people a while to get back on track, but make sure you're keeping on top of the due dates for the quizzes. And then exam 2 is when we come back from spring break, and you'll have a week to take that. And I would suggest, if you haven't already, make sure that you're taking notes from the chapters for Ember and Ember, so that it helps you a lot more for the exam. You won't feel so rushed when you get back from spring break. Make sure that you're paying attention to special terms, theorists, and theories, and that will help you do well on exam 2. And then I mentioned this in the last video, but try to take it on a desktop, because we're still having some people that are having connectivity issues on the laptops, and just the desktops, especially on campus, tend to work a lot better for the exams. And that's it for this week. Have a great break, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. Take care.